What should gardeners do before the first frost? Well, this video is going to remind you of a few things to do before that temperature dips below 32 degrees. Hey, it's Michelle at the Garden Spot, and today is Tuesday, October 3rd, and we are going to get our first frost on Thursday. It is predicted to dip to 28 degrees, which is going to feel so cold, which means that I have a pretty lengthy to-do list, and you might also have a pretty long to-do list as well. So just as a reminder, a light frost occurs when the nighttime temperatures dip to at or just below 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Celsius. A hard freeze is a period of at least 4 consecutive hours of air temperatures that are below 28 degrees or -2 degrees Celsius. Now, I separated this video into 2 categories. Number 1 is what to do before your first frost, so before nighttime temperatures hit 32 degrees. The second half of this video is what to do after, but still to do before real winter sets in. And if you live in the upper Midwest or in the mountain plains or mountain west, then you know what I mean by real winter, because we are going to have many periods of beautiful weather yet to come where we can still extend that gardening season. So moving right along, before first frost, number 1, photograph the good and the bad. So we all think we remember what looks good and bad come plant buying time in the spring, but me personally, I never do. So snap a few photos of what you liked and, more importantly, what you didn't like. Make sure to photograph any bare spots as well so that you can think back to how much space you have to fill with plants come springtime. And if you can, do this a few times during the year. Now is especially important to document before all of your tender plants turn brown and die. You're going to want to get a view of what it looked like in the height of fall. Number 2, and this is an important one, winterize your irrigation system. Look for a link in the video below for instructions on how to do that. So important to make sure that we do that before we hit that first cold spell. Number 3, store tender perennials. Many plants that are marketed as annuals would actually be perennial, meaning they would come back next year if only they didn't experience any frost. This includes bananas, begonias, caladiums, cannas, colocasias, gladiolas, sweet potato vine, and coleus, and many more. For bulbs and corms like cannas and caladiums, cut the foliage back, wrap them in newspaper, put them in a cardboard box, place that box in a loose-fitting garbage bag, and store them in a dark, dry, frost-free place until summer. If you're running short on time, I've actually had success storing cannas in the same pot that I grew them in. Just go ahead and cut them back and grab the whole pot and place it somewhere dry, cool, that won't get below freezing. Number 4, store your ceramic pots, especially if they are glazed. If you grow annuals in ceramic pots, now is a good time to store them for winter, as they can crack during the winter's freeze-thaw cycles. So you can do this chore into November, just as long as your ceramic pots are stored or emptied before the extremely cold temperatures hit. Number 5, take cuttings of tender plants. I like to take cuttings of plants like coleus and tradescantia or inch plant to use again next year. I'll just grow them on in a sunny windowsill. I'll root them just into plain water, and then once I start planting seeds in the spring out in the garage, I'll go ahead and pot those on as well. Number 6, harvest most of your vegetable garden. This includes squash, cucumbers, tomatoes, beans, and tender herbs like basil and rosemary. Propagate or pot on and bring indoors any herb that you'd like to continue to use. I take basil cuttings and dig up my rosemary each year. Leave brassicas like kale and broccoli and other frost-tolerant veggies like carrots in the ground. The flavor is actually going to get a lot better with the cold. Leave perennial herbs like German wintertime, lavender, and oregano in the ground, and you can continue to use them throughout the season. Now we are getting to the second half of this video, which is after the first frost. So what isn't important to do before the first frost, but which absolutely needs to be done before winter truly hits. So number 7, and this is probably the most important thing on my list, except maybe to winterize your irrigation system, and that's to resist the urge to clean. So guys, this isn't your kitchen counter. It doesn't need to be sterile. And in fact, old plant matter, fallen leaves, and twigs, they're not an eyesore. They're habitat for the little ecosystem that's grown in your backyard. And it's also mulch for your favorite plants. Leave attractive foliage and seed heads standing to help your garden look more vibrant during the winter. Some of my favorite seed heads would be coneflower, rudbeckia. I love the seed heads from millet, hyacinth bean pods. There's a lot of really beautiful seed heads that you can leave. Oh, nigella is another favorite. So anything that looks good, just let it stand. Especially grasses, you don't want to cut those back until spring anyway, because that's going to help protect the crown of that grass. So do not cut back those grasses. Number 8, dig up your dahlias. So you wanted to wait to dig up your dahlias until they've gone through a few frosts. For more info on dahlias, check out The Impatient Gardener. She has a ton of videos on storing dahlias, and she knows her dahlias, so I'm gonna let her tell you how to store them. I will say that for folks living in a drier climate, it has really helped me to store them, first in a layer of mulch, then in a layer of cardboard, but then also to like loosely wrap that cardboard box in a garbage bag. It just helps to keep a little bit more of that moisture in there, because we live in a dry climate. It's dry. We don't want those tubers to totally dry out. So check out The Impatient Gardener for more on that. Number 9, cover your marginally hardy plants with extra mulch. If you've done any zone pushing, meaning you're growing a plant that is barely hardy to your area, cover them with an extra layer of mulch once they go dormant, just to give it that added layer of protection. All right, number 10, collect your favorite seed. You can collect seed anytime it's ripe. I collect seed starting in about July, continue to collect it all the way through summer, into autumn, through winter, and even early spring. So you can collect seed anytime it's ripe, but over the next month or so, take advantage of dry days and harvest seed from cosmos, rudbeckia, coneflower, gomphrena, celosia, and other plants easily propagated from seed. Number 11, pull your stakes. I always forget to do this. So you're gonna want to, if you've done any staking throughout the year, pull the stakes before they freeze into the ground, and you cannot get them out until it thaws again in the spring. Number 12, mulch your trees and herbaceous perennials. Protect your trees and herbaceous perennials with a generous application of mulch, which can be done anytime in the coming months. There's really no rush, but you're going to want to make sure that you protect those. I think it's especially important to protect any new trees that are in the ground. If you've recently planted any conifers, Japanese maples, make sure that you give them some extra warmth, because this is their first season in the ground and their root system is not going to be as deep as it will be in the future. So keep them well insulated. Number 13, pull any plants that you consider to be weeds. So some that I'll be looking for are clover, dandelions, crabgrass, oxeye daisy, bindweed, Canadian thistle, or anything that's just out of place in your garden. And number 14, make sure to plant your bulbs. That is spring blooming bulbs that are planted in the fall. All right, guys, that's it from me at the Garden Spot. I hope you find some time to get out there and prep your garden for winter.